All right, all right, all right. Welcome back. It's another episode of Survival of the Fittest is the soup du jour. I'm Chef Roberto Trevino, and I have been cooking, seasoning, saucing, all kinds of stuff lately. I've been cooking so much again. What can I say? Am I the luckiest chef ever? Possibly. Only because I still continue to cook and really feel young when I do. It's like the fountain of youth, the kitchen. So all you older chefs, keep kicking it out. You're literally in the fountain of youth. All right, so live it up. And all you youngsters, don't worry. Just do your thing. Keep cooking. So here's what I want to talk about. It's really been more about the trends in restaurants, the trends in ghost kitchens, the trends in food trucks, and now the food hall. And it's not like a new trend because, let's take it back to the classic food court at the mall. Let's take it back to, the entertainment zones, where you could get anything you wanted to eat and whatever. Ultimately, my vision is like, so the food hall is not only just like the mall food court, but it's like the ultra chic and hip, to the max. Including the guest and the employees and the offerings. I'll say it. I was recently at a new food hall, and it was pretty far out because it really had a higher end feeling from the get-go. As soon as you pull in, there's really nowhere to park, but all of a sudden you find parking, and then it's got this virtual sort of garage that you download onto your phone or your hand for whatever you got, and you pay for parking, and it's a trip. You either do it right or you get like quadruple charged. But and I laugh because I was one of those. Whatever, pay the $22 and roll. You get the notification on your phone while you're like, finishing up, but you say like, man, are you kidding me? Tow truck. Arr. Not necessary, but it is what it is. But the overall experience, I'd have to say, is intense. Because it's, like, on the eye, it's a very modern and chic sort of feeling to the entire experience. This is like I guess it's called the yard, the wall at the yard. Yeah, I'll get it for you in a minute. The hall in the yard, and it's in Lake Ivanhoe in downtown sort of Orlando, and well, not sort of Orlando, but definitely sort of downtown Orlando. And I've always had my, that area is kind of tricky with restaurants and been tricky for years near the railroad tracks and all that. I am a good, I know about that, but the place is really nice. And I'm talking about, you can see where they put the time into the design and the feeling and the overall, presentation of the place. And the food, like I said, is really good. But what really was baffling to me is how do they divvy this up? Because the bartender told me, obviously I'm just making conversation, but, because I want to know, like, are these all owned by one person? And the bartender says, no, they're individual chefs and individual operators in each one of these concepts. And I believe there was like maybe, let's say 8 different offerings. And, Greek place, El Greco, which I kind of like leaned that way. It was good. There was a Latin place. I forgot the name. I think it was called Pasión. There was the Chef and I, which had the higher end sort of, the higher end, like, I like to call it like post-California cuisine. And all of you old timers don't know where I'm coming from. But it had all the really kind of hip stuff going as far as, like cauliflowers and roasted this and roasted that. But it was delicious. And anyways, they have these different concepts, the Asian, token Asian concept, the token Italian concept. And the food is good. and they're sharp, and the place is very, very chic. But how do they make money? These individual restaurants within this food hall, where as an operator, I know that having the bar element to your dining experience, really adds to the check average and certainly adds to the bottom line every month, which, in the end is everything, So I was just started kicking it on my mind, like, who handles buying the plateware? Who pays for the runners? The food runners seem to share their duties amongst all the different stalls or the different concepts, and the bar kind of independently runs itself, but can order from any of the concepts, and it all kind of works like just like stations, if you will, where you're just ordering food and from a bartender, and it's all coming at you at different times and different styles, and it's relative. I think it's cool. I dug it. It was fun, and I was like, whoa, is this the future? And I ask myself that all the time. What is the next step for restaurants? I mean, I know there's restaurants near the convention center that I'm involved with that do incredible numbers, and we're talking about 400, 600, 900 covers, in a night, and you're just like, wow. And so there's definitely the model, the classic, the restaurant where your waiter greets you, the appetizers, the food, the drinks, the bottles of wine, the on and on and on, and that formula works. It's the classic, and I think there's a certain level of luxury out there when it comes to dining that people are not willing to part with. I think they're willing to change other things in their lives, but they're also willing to make dining, like I saw tonight, at this food hall. I saw young people in there spending really good money on food, and I asked myself, like, wow, that's cool, when you see that demographic. You see the older demographic in the classic restaurants buying the big bottles of wine and spending the, bucks on the table. And that you see then the food hall, that you see a younger generation spending time and bucks on a table. And, it's interesting because is that the future? And ultimately your guest and the customer will dictate what is acceptable from a restaurant or not. And yes, it's always been like this: waiter, my soup is cold, take it back, Yeah, definitely. But I don't know. What I'm seeing now is just, it's interesting. And once again, I find myself kind of not puzzled, because I say, all right, but I'm still don't get how operationally it's working out, how does then an independent take on a space, pays rent, possibly, has to pay some employees, maybe less than having a full restaurant, but certainly 2 or 3 employees. They don't sell alcohol. How much money are they really making? That's when the margins these days are shrinking because of the cost of food. And I know that the guests are willing to pay more for the food, but at the same time, you say to yourself, it's still like, money coming in and money going out. The margins are slim no matter what, and they always have been, but it seems to be even more so these days, especially because labor costs are so high. So I just don't know it. I don't see it yet. The ghost kitchen for a long time kind of intrigued me, and I was into it and thinking, like, what, this is going to be cool. We could probably kill it with this. But then I started to think of the cost of employees and the competition out there, and the whole ghost kitchen angle. It was like the food truck. The food truck was great for a while there, and then it became just like saturated market. And just to kind of nickel and dime in a very difficult situation of the food truck, I was just very similar to the ghost kitchen. I was like, I don't know. So I'm kind of like an old schooler when it comes to like thinking about restaurant formula. I like to have great food. I love to be creative in the kitchen, enough for your guests are willing to pay for exciting things on the plate. But then there's always that element of the bar, and the bar leaving you incredible margins, unlike food, which leaves you fair. You like to be fair with your guests, so you make some money, but the alcohol is where you really make your money. So I'd have to say I'm more of the school of full bar, and dining experience, but that's expensive these days. And that, once again, is that becoming way more of a luxury, and not necessarily for the guest, but for the operator. Is it a luxurious place to be where you're able to operate and have a successful full dining experience style restaurant, if you will, with the bar and everything? And is that the new luxury as an operator, that you can make that kind of money, that you are indeed, if you are doing the covers, then you're definitely making the money. And if you're in a position like that, is that the new, royalty? Is that the new, restaurant king, or queen? As opposed to just kind of like, I got to make it, I got to survive, and let me just get this to the people because this is what I'm feeling today, and this is how I'm going to express myself. With food right now, this is me, and this is what I want to present to the world, but you're making $8 on it, and that's a beautiful feeling, and I know it well, because before there was any idea of what it costs or what it should, when you were a young cook and you just produced things to produce things, whether they made sense or not, there was that magic. And later it has to have a price, and it has to become that. And at the same time, you master it, and you truly get a good feeling when you can give your guests something unique and exciting at a reasonable price, or at least knowing what it cost you to produce and what you were able to sell it for, and what people are willing to pay for. And again, that's a whole nother story, which I am another student of. What are people willing to pay for? The good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm serious. It's like, okay. Some people, they just, some of it is like marginal at best, and yet they'll pay top dollar for some things, and I'll go like, wow. Or I'll leave it at that because I don't want to divulge too much, but it's amazing. And again, a student of what people are willing to pay for, I think, is very important in the restaurant business, especially if that's your goal, to own a restaurant or to have a place that produces you a livelihood by selling an experience, a drink or food, and once you belong to that sort of group, then, I think you have a better understanding of that desire to give the guest, something of value and something exciting and something that puts money in your pocket, since you got to survive from that at the same time, And then there's times that it just goes way over. It just gets lopsided because it's so good or so exciting that the guests just want to be part of it, and they are willing, and you really start to make a ton of money. And again, with a ton of money comes a ton of problems, and you name it, it's there. And I don't need to get into all that because I don't think I've made a ton of money yet. Maybe I thought I did at one point, but if you make a ton of money, you probably still have a ton of money. So whatever the case, I think we're definitely living some exciting times when it comes to food. And I say that, I think, probably every episode, because I truly believe it. I believe that the chefs right now, man, it's like everything else we're living through, I mean, you got to be ready to just kind of like get it out on the fly, whether it be get a dish out or try to find an investor or flip a property or flip a concept or you name it. I think that we're living it and I think that you have to be that flexible these days. And, I said to myself at one point in my history, I never thought I would be cooking as much as I am now. And, I am. And honestly, I think it's probably the best thing for me at the same time, because again, it's the fountain of youth. It makes me feel great. And I still got it. And I think that's important to realize sometimes. So let's say, what else do we got for y'all today? I just have to take note of something. I know we're living some tough times, and nobody likes to talk about the negative things, but I got to give a lot of praise to Chef Jose Andres, who is really making an effort, with the situation in Eastern Europe between Russia and the Ukraine, which is not a pretty subject, and it's really gotten ugly, to the point where people are getting emotional when they talk about it, including myself. You see some horrific stuff going down. But I got to give it to these guys like my very dear friend Jose Enrique, who are out in Poland as well, cooking. And, you hear of Mark Murphy leaving New York City to go help as well. And you hear about all these chefs that are just lending a hand to do something. And, hats off to them. I mean, it's a tragic situation. It's nothing to really kind of cheer or be happy about, but it's a gesture that comes from the heart. And I believe that chefs, we all share that, and I got to give them a lot of support from me. I mean, just blown away, and I love the fact that there's chefs out there doing this, doing their part. So hats off to Jose Andres and all those other chefs out there for diving into a very difficult situation. So that's what I have for y'all this week. This has been a good episode of Survival of the Fittest is the soup du jour. We know we've got to keep surviving, everybody, so do your part. Stay strong. Be exciting in your lives. And open something. Don't wait. Don't wait. All right, y'all. We'll see you soon. Take care.